All right, we got another Spin That Shit podcast for you. Today's guest is Zach Willdee. Now, he's got a new album coming out here soon. We talked to him about growing up, playing music, where he's been, where he's going, this new album, of course, and where he's at in Nashville currently. He's got a song on Spotify and other streaming areas, YouTube, wherever. Check it out. It's called Take the Sign. It's a super awesome song. I comment on there. I like the pedal steel, and I like his voice when he cuts in. He starts to get kind of growly at some points where he's really delivering. So check out that song. I think you're going to like it, and we're looking forward to the album. Last but not least, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe on our YouTube channel. We're also on all streaming platforms. Check us out on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, whatever. If it's out there, we're on there. So let's go talk to Zach.
What's going on, y'all? How you doing?
Just keeping it taking it easy here, last day before we go back to work.
And to that, I'll be crawling in a crawl space tomorrow morning. So,
you will
make money so you can play music, right?
That's all that matters at the end of the day.
What are you doing in the crawl space? What are you doing in the crawl space?
I do. It's like construction, more like carpentry work. So we pull out like joists and different blocks like that and like replace it. And last week I was bricking and mortaring a wall, but got to pay for the record somehow. So
exactly,
it's gonna be hot.
Oh yeah, tough jobs breed tough people, though.
That's right.
Right on. Well, thanks for joining us on the show. Can you give us a background, idea where you're from and how you got into music and
yeah,
that sort of thing?
I'm actually from Massachusetts originally. I'm from a town called Franklin. I lived on Cape Cod for a long time, though. So when I was about 14, I started street performing in a little town called Provincetown, Massachusetts. I was like busking, playing guitar and singing. And I was doing that from about 14 until I'd say about 22. And I was playing a lot of, bar shows and such. After I got, when I got older, they were actually allowed me to go into some of these clubs. So I started street performing for most of the beginning of it, and then slowly got into the club scene. And then I moved down to Nashville, Tennessee in 2016. But my dad, he's always played guitar, not professionally, but he's always picked when I was growing up. And he had a lot of influence on a lot of the genres that I was listening to. And, he took me and my sister to a lot of festivals as like kids, like starting at like 5-6 years old. And that really set, I think, a big tone for me growing up, because we were just constantly around music, and I was kind of getting pushed in that direction just by the, surroundings that we had. So.
Right. Makes sense.
What kind of artists popped your cherry, as they say, on that thing you do? Great movie.
Great movie. There's a whole bunch of different artists. I'd say some of the bigger ones, though, it's like John Prine and Steve Earle both had a really big influence on me growing up. When I was a kid, when I was like 12, my dad gave me a guitar, and he gave me like a couple records and taught me a couple chords and like kind of sent me on my way to like learn. But he gave me a Steve Goodman and John Prine record, and he gave me a Carter Family record. And I listened to those so much, and a lot of that earlier, like roots and bluegrass music, because that was a lot of the festivals we were going to as well. We were going to places like Merle Fest in North Carolina. I don't know if you ever heard of Joe Val, which is up in Framingham. It's a fantastic festival in memory of a big bluegrasser from New England named Joe Val. But they were taking us to Gray Fox. I've gone to Gray Fox 12 or 14 years, I'd like to think, over the course of my life. And my dad and sister done more than me, but that it's those, really set the tone for a lot of that early influence that carried through now. Cause now I do mostly, country music and traditional country, and a lot of that also anyway. So.
Yeah, we've been think I stumbled across your stuff through mutual friends that we have online, and seeing you playing, you putting live shows up and stuff, playing at D's and places like that. So I've been kind of paying attention. Talk about this song that's on Spotify, if you would.
Yeah, that song, Take the Sign, the newest one.
Yeah.
I started writing that about a year and a half ago, I think. And I started recording a lot of that stuff over the past like 8 months. And I record here at my house. I live in a band house here in East Nashville. So we just have all musicians that live here. My buddy, Chris Wisebecker, my roommate that lives on the bottom floor, has a great, in-home studio that we record a bunch of our friends and do a bunch of work with. This lovely lady right here does some work with him.
Oh,
yeah. Yep. Represent Hannah.
But I think that that song, when I first started writing it, it was kind of like a missed connection kind of thing. Like it was wrote out of like the mindset that somebody wasn't really like figuring out or listening to exactly what I was saying. And I just felt like I couldn't get my point across. And like a big thing for me is like music is therapy. And, sometimes the only way that you can really get it out is to like write a song about it and really let those emotions out. And that whole song kind of stemmed from like a really tough situation I was in at the time. I was homeless and trying to get myself figured out. And I think that's when I realized that some of the tougher points and the harder, points in life are where you get some of the really good songs out of,
Definitely.
Hell yeah. John Prine, hell yeah.
You got to go through some shit to write some shit,
Yeah, man. Sometimes you got to carrier like John Prine, right?
That's right.
For a lot of mail and do a lot of odd jobs and weird stuff to be able to make it. But, it all kind of entails into each other,
Right.
Yeah.
So you got more songs coming out here soon? You're going to put out a full LP?
Oh, yeah. So what I've got going now, I've got one song that's going to be coming out here in July. And then I've got a third song that's going to be coming out in August. So I'm going to put out the first single along with those two others, going to be 3 singles. And then come September, I'm going to have a full length record. And
nice.
That I believe early September. It's looking like it's going to be like the first or second week of September. But we're really looking forward to putting it out. There's going to be a huge variety of music on that. It touches base into a lot of the roots that I have and like stuff that I've picked up over the last decade in performing and such. And it's a culmination of everything that I've been like really working towards. You know what I mean? I did a project with another band for a long time. That was a Southern rock band called Mercury Blonde. And we all ended up after, the pandemic started and such, we ended up all kind of like going our own ways and working on some new stuff. And I started really delving into my solo project stuff. And that's how, all of this came to fruition. So
right.
Trying to push that record out. And, there's a bunch of like great people that are playing on it too. We've got like some people you guys probably are like, we got Tim Bolo plays bass for it for the whole record. Tim's a really dear friend of mine. Go check out Tim Bolo's music. Adam Duran from Kelsey Walden's band's playing on it. He plays lead guitar. Neil Jones is playing steel, the pedal steel, and he's the pedal steel player for American Aquarium. And Neil's also one of my roommates here at the house. But Chris Wisebecker, my roommate, he plays drums on it. And then we've got this fantastic singer and fiddle player named Lucy Cochran, who's based out of here in Nashville, Tennessee, and she's doing a lot the background vocals for most of it in the fiddle playing. But it's a really great, cool, eclectic group of people. We've been really good friends for a long time, and we've all been working on this together. So it's fun to finally, seeing it all, take form and start to be a reality,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I like to Take the Sign song a lot. I love that when the pedal still comes in too on that one. That one really pierces.
Neil was really pleased with that solo when he finished it up. Like we were working in the studio and he laid that one down, and me and my roommate just looked at each other. We're like, "Yep, cash that check to the bank. That is ready to go." But fantastic. He's a fantastic player, and I mean, like he plays to the song, so it really he gives a lot of accreditation to the actual dynamics, and you know what I mean? Like I personally love the pedal steel. I'm an aficionado. I can't play more than 3 notes on it, but
Right.
it's just such an intricate instrument. And for people to actually sit and learn all of the crazy mechanisms and all the playing styles of a pedal steel, it takes somebody truly a little bit insane. And I love them.
I couldn't do it.
Me either. Right.
I'd try, but I doubt I'd get very far.
Yeah, especially on too. We've got so many pedal steel players bouncing around. But yeah, the newest song that came out, Take the Sign, like we were really hoping, we wanted to start off with a strong song, and we wanted to come out with something that like really truly showcased everybody, had like a really good part for everyone that really like made the musicians and everything shine really well the song. So we wanted to start off strong with that one. And then I have the next song that's going to be coming out is actually called Lately. And I wrote that one probably about 2 years ago. And I'm not going to give too much away about it before, but it's going to be a really good follow-up. And we're going to have some cool radio stations that are going to be playing it for us around here. So, and I'll release that kind of stuff in the next like couple weeks or so, but we're looking forward to the second and third ones coming out too.
That's awesome.
Good.
So logistically, being in a house like that, everybody's in this band or, doing different things. If you're going out on the road in the future, what are you doing? You're going to be like stripped down just you, or find other players if they can't come?
Man, I've gotten to the point where like I try to book around specific players that we have to come in. Like Neil in particular, American Aquarium goes out and tours quite a bit, and they fantastic shows. They just finished up yesterday from about a 2-week run, and me and my friends were fortunate. We got to see the first show here in Nashville. Sold out show at the Basement East, and it was unbelievable. But like I try to book those dates around and touring, at least at this point, at some of them being in town. So if he's got 2 or 3 weeks off, that's when I'm going to aim for hitting the road and getting some of these guys. But the best way to kind of do it is plan it out as far ahead in advance as you can. Or, sometimes you got to bring in those sub players. And down here, like, especially for like pedal steel and stuff, you've got, so many good options to pick from. Like there's just such a plethora of good players that are, they just, fall out of the ceiling essentially.
That's good. Well, you guys definitely got some momentum going then. So before September rolls around and that stuff starts getting released, the full record, going into that, where are you going to be doing? You're going to be doing shows around more Nashville?
At this point, I'm looking like it's looking like it's going to be more regionally. There'll be some shows that'll be speckled in Nashville. Like lately, I've been actually running a couple of jams in the city itself. So I do a couple a week where we just bring up a bunch of friends and get everyone to kind of shell out and play together and meet new people, get some new like stuff going on for everyone. But I'm looking like where I'm booking is all going to be in like the regional area. Come September, it's probably going to be more of going on, longer out tours and starting to kind of branch out into the Midwest and probably the Northeast a little bit where I'm from. September and October is looking like I'll be probably going up to New England for a little bit. So, and going and playing up in that region and then kind of doing like an East Coast back down towards Nashville thing.
Okay. You just really want to see the leaves change through there, don't you?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's the year to go up to the beach. It's like September. It stays nice and warm. The water's still warm, and there's no tourists.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
So the tintype of you, is that going to be the album cover? The tintype picture? I'm
not sure yet. It's brought that up too because Joseph Brown, who took that picture of me, he's actually been staying with me down here for the past like week or so, and he'll be down here for another 2 weeks. He's a fantastic traveling tintype photographer. He's a ex-combat vet, that just travels around the country in a van and takes these unbelievable pictures. So like last night, I don't know if you guys have gotten into the bluegrass scene super heavy in Nashville, but one of our friends hosted a 4th of July mini festival yesterday. Hannah played. So do you know Jack Studer? I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but he plays in a bunch of different bluegrass bands and is working on a bunch of music himself. He plays with East Nashgrass as well.
I know them.
Yeah, so a bunch of them were playing last night, and there was just a whole crew of different people that were all out and about. And Joseph had came out, so there was like 120 people over the course of the whole night in this big backyard with just fields all around it. And Joseph is hanging plates, taking old style tintype photography shots of people amongst all of this chaos of this party. And I mean, he gets some amazing shots, but we're actually going to work on a couple this week that I'm thinking that I'm going to use possibly for the record cover. The whole tintype look, I personally love it. And it can really capture a really cool moment in time. So it's like, once you have that, that's something that, or at least that picture in that metal frame there, that's there. So it's like 50 years from now, you can pass that down through families and generations.
Yeah.
From that, solitary time. So it's like, he captivated me by explaining it like that. And then we started doing some shots together when I first met him about 6-8 months ago. And now whenever he comes through the city, a bunch of our friends and stuff like to go and try to get shots from him. But I think I'll probably be working on a new tintype with him for album cover. I think I'm going to involve my dog in it. I'll throw that in there.
You got to.
Perfect.
Sleeping over here on the couch right now.
Yeah, I follow Joseph online. He does great work. I shoot tintype as well here.
Really?
Yeah. So it's a niche thing. There's not that many guys, doing it. So I'm glad he's out doing it, especially with country artists and, guys in Nashville.
And it's like, it's so funny because it's an art form that I feel like got forgotten about. And in the past 2 decades, it seems like it's caught way back on. And I mean, like yesterday, we did a group shot of everybody that was at the this little mini festival.
Mm-hmm.
Like 5 people just slammed into this picture, and he's standing on top of a pickup truck that had a pool in the back of it, trying to get a picture of all these people. And I was like, I'm like, this is how they did it 120 years ago. Everyone just crammed in, didn't move, and hoped that they got in the shot, because if you move a little bit, it throws the, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like washed out in the picture. So we're just all crammed in, hoping that we're going to look good in this shot.
Nobody move.
But it's so interesting that like there's still, like the community of people that we have here and artists, they don't just support music. They support all different types of art in all forms of art. So like we have a ton of photographers that are constantly around. And then you get like into these niches like tintype photography that are so interesting. It works so well with music too, like you said. Like it's like, especially with the way that they shoot with it, it just works really well with the look of like country singers in the bluegrass community and such.
Right.
100%.
You should come down here and meet him some point. Really like
I'm going to. Yeah, I plan on it.
like to hear.
Just hanging out, watching him work would be good.
It's a scene. Watching him going through it, like the whole process is just unbelievable. Yeah, it's to go and find some, like whenever you see tintype photographers, whenever I see them out on the road and stuff, I'll go hang out and talk with them, get a shot, just because like it's just such a cool process. And it's old school. Like people, like that's about as old school as you can as get a picture.
Yep.
Yeah, it really is. It's magic silver on metal and glass.
Silver nitrate.
Silver nitrate. That's right.
That's on my hand. So that was fun.
So we have some.
I want to ask real quickly though, how long have you been growing your hair out, Zach?
I cut it a little bit about a year ago. One of my friends looked at me and was like, "You got some dead ends that we got to take off there," and she thinned it out for me. But it's quite long. It goes down to. I usually braid it too, because I mean, it's a lot.
How many years though? What's the time?
5 years. Yeah. It's some commitment. I wish I'd figured out the braiding it 4 years ago. I would have been a lot cooler. Like
Willie
down.
Nelson.
It's been Willie's right, man. You go to Texas in the middle of July, you'd be braiding your hair too. It's hot. When it's down here, you just get real humid. But yeah, got the nice long locks. I decided one day when I first moved here, I got a job offer to work at the Basement East as a line cook. And on the same day, I got a job offer to go work for this marketing company. And I called my dad and I was like, I don't know what to do. And he said, screw that marketing company, go work as a line cook. And that was probably the best decision I ever made. It was, line cooking is a terrible, terrible job. But work at the Basement East over there, I got to see some of the best shows, meet some of the coolest people. And this was like 5 years ago. So this was before, I don't know if y'all followed up and saw, but the Basement East got knocked out by that tornado.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So when I first started working there was a pub in the back. It was a 500 capacity venue. And then they had like a pub off to the side that was walled off. And I worked in that pub. So when they would all start playing, nobody would want to eat. So I would cut in through a back door and watch the show from the back. Came through. And then I'd go and cook it all quick and then get it out and go back and watch the show. I did that for the better part of a year too. Just like watching every bit of music I can. I got to meet because you'd have to cook dinner for the bands too. So I got to go and meet, a bunch of cool bands just because I have to go take their order and chat them up a little bit. And
yeah,
I was unreal. It's just funny how it all kind of falls into a long scheme of things after you look at it, because it was a tough job just sitting in an oven in the middle of the summertime cooking. But the contrast was you got to see some of the best music ever and be around some really cool people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a bad trade-off at all.
Yeah, it worked out. I'm still here.
So we're going to run some questions by you. First one is, what's an artist or who's an artist that you would like to work with at some point?
An artist
that or even if, it could be anyone. Who would you love to just work on music with?
Man, my number one person would be Del McCoury.
Really?
Yeah. I've been a fan of Del since I was really little. My dad started bringing me to see him when I was 5 years old. Out of every artist that I've ever, and I've seen a lot of music in my life, I've seen Del more than anybody. Really? And I just the Travel McCoury's at Brooklyn Bowl a couple of nights ago, and Del actually sat in and played with he did 4 or 5 songs, and they had Sierra Hull and Billy Strings come out and play with them.
Oh man. And
just to be able to sit and work with Del a little bit. He's got I love harmonizing. That's one of my favorite. I don't consider myself a guitarist. I consider myself a musician and writer. And I feel like a lot of what I come where my writing and where my performance style and stuff comes from a lot of those old bluegrassers that just really focused on their rhythm playing and their singing. And Del, I would consider one of the best rhythm guitarists and one of the best singers, of all in American history. So that'd be the epitome, besides John Prine, but rest in peace,
Right. Yeah, I've seen Dale 2 for sure, maybe even a 3rd time. It's been a while, but it's been a while since I've seen him here recently. But always a good show. Such talent.
I've probably seen Del at least 2 or 3 dozen times.
That's awesome.
No exaggerate. I have a car. If he were playing close enough, and down here we get to go and see him a whole bunch. We've seen him at the Bluegrass Caverns, but to me, he's the creme de la creme. Can't get any better.
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah, man. That's the thing. The guy's 83 years old. Excuse me. And when I listened to him a few nights ago, he sounded like he did when I was a kid. And probably the same he sounded 30 years before I was born. You know what I mean?
That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah. If he quits playing, then he'll go downhill fast. I think this is keeping him alive.
He's gonna quit. I have a feeling that he's go until the engine stops. King was like that. You know what I mean? Towards the end of his life, he just kept cranking it out. And a lot of those guys. Gives them that longevity, is that drive. You know what I mean? When you start you're going out doing 250 dates a year, that really your body gets used to it. And so when you start really getting into it, a lot of these guys, they can, I mean, if you do it right, you can go for a long time.
Yep.
I've been reading the Ralph Stanley's book. Well, I just finished it, but he goes into a lot of that. He lived his whole life on the bus and traveling and in and out of cars. And boy, I can't remember what he died at, 90 something or late 80s or early 90s.
Yep.
Till the wheels fall off, man.
Yeah, Stanley, man, he was one. Like, I mean, talk about somebody that had, and I think he was one of the first guys that you started to see where at the end of his life he got that rebirth in that career, where It's like, what, he was in his 80s and then he was in Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and that just literally boomed back up. One of my friend's mothers was the background singer for the Stanley brothers as well as Ralph Stanley. And she told us a bunch of different stories about him going on tour and such. And her singing is just par none, man. She's fantastic. But some of the stories she told about, like, the hardcore touring in the 70s and the 80s with, like, her husband played in Bill Monroe's band at the time. And between him playing with the Bluegrass Boys and her with Ralph Stanley and the Stanley brothers together, like, it must have been real tough back then, man. Like, they were doing hard dates.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of days. And without that, folk revival deal, there was a lot where they were playing music and barely, I mean, they were losing money to do it.
I mean, you go look, I'd say from what I've like looked into there, I think there was like two different big things that really regenerated roots music here in the United States. One was Fish picking up the Del McCoury band in the 90s to go on tour with them. Because when Fish picked up Del McCoury band to open for them, they crossed over that bluegrass and that psychedelic genre. And from that, I mean, 20 years later, like Billy Strings and Daniel Donato and stuff coming out doing this more cosmic country or psychedelic bluegrass and stuff like that, that all stemmed from those tours that really like rejuvenated a lot of people's interest. And then when Oh Brother came out, Oh Brother Where Art Thou really just, that and Dan Kaminsky and that whole crew, like Gillian Welch, Dave Rawlings, they really set that standard to like really, I mean, rejuvenate the interest in the genre. Because my dad's been a fan of, I mean, old school. He was turned on to bluegrass from the Dead originally. Like Away, like those guys, like Jerry's like projects and stuff. I mean, Jerry was a pedal steel player. I mean, there was plenty of videos of him younger in his career doing like pedal steel playing country music.
He was obsessed with bluegrass.
Yeah.
Do I spell Neil?
Hold on one second, please. Drummer in the band that I was talking about just returned. So my other
ruined it, man. You ruined the interview.
Yeah. No, but yeah. No, the engineer master in arms over here.
Nice.
That's cool.
All right.
Yeah, we're a pretty laid back show. We just chat and chill. So,
I was hoping it wasn't going to be him and it was going to be Neil coming in, but who knows?
Next one, if you had to pick one, it's a disagreement between Justin and I, keeping us from being as good of friends as we probably could be.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one to listen to, Beatles or the Stones?
Probably the Beatles. Probably the Beatles. I was raised on the Beatles from my mom. That was like her favorite band. And I don't think that, and I know that this can be a little bit controversial, but I don't think a lot of those bands could have been those bands without the Beatles. Like those guys were, and yet I don't personally sit down and listen to them all that much, but I can appreciate and really like that music still. Right. But guys set the pace for, I mean, more than just rock bands, like just generations and generations of music. And like, I think that the Rolling Stones obviously had a huge impact on like their cultural movement and rock and roll and such, but the Beatles were like, I was like the first ones, man. Like those guys like were the first truly marketed band, I guess you could put it like that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Garrett's winning the battle, I think, currently between us. It's been pretty back and forth.
Yep.
So.
Oh, I could imagine. I mean, those are two. I mean, I play a lot of Rolling Stone stuff, but I've played a lot of Beatles in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the third one is what is it, Garrett? I done forgot.
Guilty pleasures.
Guilty pleasure. I always forget. See, I don't have my notes in front of me. What's a guilty pleasure? Yeah, too much of this for 4th of July.
Yerba mate.
That's your guilty pleasure.
I don't drink alcohol. I quit drinking about 11 months ago now. And I now drink a lot of tea because it keeps you, energized and keeps you going through it. But this stuff's called Gayaki Yerba Mate. They should sponsor me because I drink enough of this stuff to kill.
DM us for a sponsorship for Zach.
Yeah, exactly. And my guilty pleasures are all like, I have like the worst sweet tooth ever. Like,
okay. Me too.
I can eat these all day. So like chocolate and these yerba mates are probably my guilty pleasures.
Music.
What about in music form? Who do you listen to that
pleasure? Let's see here. I think that the most embarrassing music guilty pleasure, it's not, but like I have a super soft spot for disco.
Do you?
Yeah. Get down on bell bottoms and going out and shaking. Like, I wasn't a huge fan. And then a couple years ago, my friends brought me to a real disco club with like a live band and stuff. And I was completely swayed. I was just like, this stuff is bumping. And if you really go back and start looking at disco music and the beats that they have behind it, they all ripped it off of a lot of like country and rock and different stuff that they all ripped off from blues, that, you know what I mean? Like, it's all like based around the same idea that it's to get people going and like create a for people, but disco's definitely a little bit like, I have a real soft spot for the Bee Gees. We'll just put it that way.
Oh, I love the Bee Gees. 100%. There has to be a reason it was so popular,
Oh yeah. My dad's going to kill me for saying that, but
Here we go.
See, I never could really get into disco stuff.
Oh man, if you dive real heavy, you got to get that. You know what I mean?
I think if I went to like a live club, like you're saying, that would definitely do it for me. But just putting it on, I don't know.
Yeah, like seeing a full band, like a full disco band live, is a lot different than sitting and listening to a record. Like, because it's a whole combination of like the people there, the music, like the whole environment of it. It's enticing.
I believe that.
Yeah.
All right, next one. You can wake up tomorrow and you can play an instrument flawlessly that you don't already play. You just pick it up and wail. What are you playing?
Fiddle.
Why?
I think that is one of the more beautiful sounding instruments, and just like the dynamic of being able to like lead a band while also playing an instrument that well, but like, cause I love guitar and I love playing guitar, but seeing somebody lead a band with a fiddle just has a whole different energy to, like I love pedal steel, but fiddle would probably be the first one that I would want to be able to just go into, you know what I mean?
Nice.
There.
Yep. That might be one I would pick. I don't know.
I don't know. There's something about fiddle. It's like, especially when you can actually play it, sing it, and then like go between the two. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's some fellers down here that we've seen play. Like I don't know if y'all have ever heard, or you probably heard, but seen Billy Contreras play a little bit. Man,
I haven't.
Oh, you should go and check him out, man. His fiddle playing is, par none. He's an unbelievable player. It's kind of like I guess like I look at watching Billy plays. What I would imagine watching Chet Atkins play guitar was kind of like.
Oh wow!
Damn,
he's real.
That's
good.
saying a lot.
I don't say that like I'd put him up there top 5 easy in like alive right now. That good. Go check, take a peek at Billy Contreras.
Okay, definitely will do that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, another one for you. I'm actually going to change this one.
Oh, this is
new. I'm throwing a curveball in here because we asked these same 5 questions to every artist or guest. Normally, it's just describe a good evening or good night or a day. If you had whatever you wanted to do with your time, what would it be? But I think what I really want the question to be now is, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen while playing music?
The craziest thing I've ever seen while playing music.
Yeah, either live or in a studio or something wild that took place at a show. Or
I may have to tell you the second craziest thing because I don't know if I can legally talk about it.
Tell us off air then if it's that bad.
Yeah, I think probably the actual craziest thing that I've ever seen. I once watched, I'm pretty sure, a marriage that was healthy at the beginning of the show delve into a divorce by the end of the show.
That's pretty wild.
And like it was a full screen match at like a big club up in, I believe it was in Kentucky. I think it was in Louisville. We were playing a show, and this couple came in arm in arm. They looked great. 30 minutes in, something went wrong, and they started hollering. They were like throwing stuff at each other. They were trying, like they were married. So like they were trying to get them out of the room, but then they would like make up, and then the club was like, "Oh, whatever, we'll just let it go." And then by like I think an hour and a half later, I'm pretty sure they both got separated and kicked out. They were literally throwing food, and like we had a piece of food fly by us on the stage, and I just started laughing. I was just like, "This is ridiculous!" Like they turned all. It almost started a whole incident because of this one, and I say that was one. Either that or I once had a guy try to climb on stage and the microphone came up and it hit me square in the forehead when I was in college. Yeah. I probably still have a scar right up here from it, but I started bleeding, and instinctually and maybe under the influence of alcohol, I was not happy with him. And I went to go and jump on said man that hit me in the face with my own microphone. And I just felt myself mid-air get caught and then just walked away. And I was like, look up, and it was one of the bouncers at the club that I was friends with. The guy was like 6'8", and I'm 5'10" on a good day in boots. Me up, and he's like, no. And they just dragged this drunk guy out into the side of the bar, and the cops came by, I think, and ended up taking him away. But I was all up, and I was I clearly remember being told to get off stage, and I flipped my friend off and said, "Let's keep going." And I played 35 minutes of the show. And as I walked off stage, my friends were like, "You need to go to the hospital." And I'm like, "No, I'm fine." I'm like, "I don't need to go to the hospital." And they're like, "You're covered in blood. We need to go to the hospital." So I didn't realize when I got hit, it had cut like a 1/4 inch, like right over here. And I had a black t-shirt on, and it had just gone down the side of my face. And I thought it was sweat because we were in a club. It was like springtime. We were all sweating. So yeah. I just sweat on me, but it was blood that was just going down the side of my face and on my shirt. And I looked down at my guitar, and my guitar had blood on it. And I was, oh God, I think we got to go. So they ended up with this gash in my head. And they were three of us rolling into that emergency room at like 12:45 or 1 a.m. We must have looked like a scene. And I just had a tiny little, the thing was like this big. It was just a gusher. And I had but they looked at us like they thought I got shot in the head. I said something like that. But that's up there top. Like one of the, when I thought about it for a second, that one came back real quick.
Rock and roll, baby. Rock and
roll, dude.
What else, Garrett? What else? I had one other thing I was going to ask him, but damn, I left my book outside. I didn't want to go get it. I'm lazy.
Yeah. Give me a good
I remember what it was. I remember. You're writing. What's your general process? Do you pick up a guitar and maybe do the melody on that, or you just write it out first, then come back to the guitar? Like, what's the process for you?
I'm a little bit different when it comes to that, I guess. I'll think of lyrics like in my head, and I'll think of like, say, a chorus or a line or something, and I'll just have it. I won't write it down. I'll just have it bouncing around, and eventually, I'll start formulating some more lines as they're coming through. Like when I first have a song come out, I don't really like write it. I'm like mostly for the first couple months, just think about it, and like kind of like I know it's kind of a weird mentality, but I'm like, if the lyrics are good enough, I'll keep remembering them. So a lot of them for me, I end up just thinking about it for a while. And then like, I'll start to hear how I think that the song would like sound with like the instruments in my own head. And then from there, I'll go and sit down with my buddy and I'll play him the song and be like, this is dynamically how I'm thinking this is going to go. And then we'll kind of produce it together off of like what I got up here. So I'll like, before going into a session or like a recording session, I'll like write down the lyrics that I've been thinking and like formulate the whole song. But for the most part, I don't really just sit down and write. Like a lot of them I just think about for a long time. And then, you know, it all kind of comes out in like one process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Never around
Cool.
way. It's just like, that's the way it's always kind of worked best for me, is like letting it kind of stew for a while and then just like banging it all out at once.
Right on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Makes it fun. You know what I mean?
Have you ever forgotten something that you wish you wrote it down earlier?
Yes. And I'm a firm believer in fate and in a firm believer that like it may have been good, but that just wasn't the right lyric for it. You know what I mean? If you truly remember it, or if I can truly remember for months, because like, you know, you hear one song, you'll and learn those lyrics, you'll know it for the rest of your life.
Right.
So like if I can relate that whole song up here first and then remember the whole thing, if it's good enough to remember, for me at least, like I think it's good enough to put down on paper. So like I've had one song that I've been working on the past like week and a half or so. And I just had like the idea of the lyrics, and then I started hearing how like the song would sound. And I went to my roommate Chris, who engineers and produces for and with me, and I was like, this is what I've already been thinking about it. And I usually like to use him as a sounding board. So I'll throw the song at him, let him sit on it for a week, and then come back and we'll, you know, go through and think about how we want to do it or how we want to process through it. And after I showed him this new song I was working on, he was like, you need to get cracking. He was like, record. So this new one, I think I'm going to finagle it and slide it in on the record, possibly, if we can. We're going to try to happen. So
Nice.
Good deal.
yes,
How many tracks are you thinking that will be on the actual full record?
I think it's going to be 12.
12?
Yeah. There's going to be one cover on the song or on the record. And I'm not going to say what the song is.
Oh, come on, man.
Completely outside of like normal country music, and not way outside, but not what you would put into like a tradition. And
Right.
One of my friends is a DJ, and she works here in town for a venue, and she turned me on to this song, and I listened to it and immediately was like, I want to put that on my record. So we reached out to the people that owned the licensing of all of it and went through and figured it all out. So there will be one cover that will be going on the record.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We'll see how it goes. Who knows?
Yeah. Good deal, man. Well, we won't keep you any longer. We're looking forward to the record. I'll be driving through Nashville in August for a few days. I'll see if you're around town playing or something. Come check you out.
Hey, you gotta come check the house out, man. I think you'd have fun.
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on too. It's been real fun talking with you guys, and I'm a big fan of you guys' podcast and listening to you guys all a bunch. So it's cool to get some of the word out and just chat with you guys and have a fun little afternoon.
Hell
Loved
yeah.
it.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
So,
Yeah, take your time, and y'all be safe. I appreciate it again, and see you on that down the road somewhere, hopefully.
You two don't drink too much tea now.
Oh, get the jitters by about 8 p.m. tonight.
All right. Thanks.
all
for
right,
that.
man. We'll catch you later.
Okay, thank you.
Peace.